Ethan Ward was never meant to be alone on the edge of the galaxy. He was only a simple engineer from Earth, a man who liked quiet work, old tools, and machines that listened. But on this cold night, he stood inside an empty research station that floated above a dying red star. The air felt too still, the lights too dim, and the silence far too deep. 3 hours earlier, the small crew of the station had taken a shuttle to deliver samples to a nearby colony. Ethan had stayed behind to complete repairs on the station's broken power grid. It was a simple task, until everything went wrong. Without warning, the entire metal structure shook. Loose panels rattled. The floor trembled under Ethan's boots. At first, he thought it was only another power failure. But then the alarm screamed, sharp, high, and angry. Unidentified vessel detected. Class: Royal Class Battleship. Origin: unknown. Ethan froze. Royal Class ships were not common. They were not even rare. They were almost myth. Only powerful rulers used them, leaders who did not visit anyone unless they wanted war, or someone dead. Ethan swallowed hard. He was alone. He had no weapon, no way to hide, and no idea why such a ship would appear here. Through the station window he saw it. A massive starship emerging from the shadows of space. It moved with perfect silence, like a giant creature drifting through deep water. Its hull glowed with bright blue lines that shifted like breathing veins. The size was impossible, larger than the whole research station. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. Ethan stepped back from the window, heart pounding. Why here? Why now? The station lights flickered. A strange energy scanned the structure, moving through the walls like a cold breath. Then the communication screen blinked. A voice filled the room, soft, deep, and dangerous. Human, step carefully. You are not facing any ordinary woman. Ethan felt his skin turn cold. A voice like that did not come from a soldier. It came from someone important, someone ancient. He tried to answer, but his throat felt dry. Who are you? There was a pause. And then the reply came. Prepare yourself. I am boarding your station. Before Ethan could move, a bright circle of blue light formed in the center of the room. Energy crackled. The air grew heavy, almost too thick to breathe. Ethan shielded his eyes. A tall figure stepped through the light. She was unlike anything he had ever seen. Her skin glowed faintly, like silver metal touched by moonlight. Her eyes were bright violet, sharp enough to cut through fear itself. She wore armor shaped like flowing stone, marked with symbols of power that Ethan did not understand. A long cloak moved behind her, as if carried by invisible wind. She did not walk. She glided. Ethan felt like a small child standing before a storm. The figure stopped only 2 steps away. Her voice was calm but carried the weight of stars. Human Ethan Ward. I am Queen Veilrine of the 7 Systems. Ethan stared at her, shocked. A queen? Why would a queen come here? I'm nobody. Her eyes narrowed. You are not nobody. I crossed half the galaxy to find you. Ethan shook his head. You must be mistaken. I'm just an engineer. But the queen raised one hand, silencing him without touching him. It was not a threat, just authority. Do you know what happens when a royal-class ship enters unclaimed territory? Ethan swallowed. War? She smiled just a little. Yes. And yet here I am alone, without an army at my side. Her gaze locked onto his. Because I came for you, human. You and no other. Ethan stepped back. Why me? I don't understand. The queen moved closer. She was taller than him, stronger than him, and much, much more than human. But her voice lowered into something almost gentle. The galaxy is searching for a human of a special bloodline. A human connected to a prophecy older than your world. Ethan blinked. A prophecy? That sounds impossible. Impossible for most, she said. Not for you. He shook his head again. I'm not special. I fix broken machines. I'm not a warrior. I'm not even trained. But the queen looked at him like she was seeing something deeper, something hidden behind his skin. You have survived things that should have killed you. You have instincts that no ordinary human has. You carry patterns in your genes that match only one record in our ancient archives. Ethan felt his chest tighten. What record? The queen spoke the words slowly. The record of the human vanguard, the warriors who once terrified the galaxy. Before Ethan could respond, the station shook violently again. The alarm screamed louder. A new warning flashed on the screen. Multiple hostile ships detected. Distance, 12,000 kilometers. Weapons ready. Target human. The queen turned toward the window, her eyes turning cold. They found us faster than I expected. She looked back at Ethan. Your life is no longer ordinary. and you cannot return to what you were. Ethan felt the fear rise in him like fire. Why are they coming? The Queen gave the answer that changed everything. Because I chose you, Ethan Ward. And now every empire wants you dead. The station continued to shake as enemy ships closed in, their dark silhouettes forming a deadly ring around the research outpost. Bright red lights flashed across the walls, warning of incoming fire. Ethan felt his heart hammering in his chest. He had never been inside real danger before, never been hunted. Queen Veilrine did not show fear. Her eyes glowed brighter, her voice steady and sharp. We cannot stay here. My ship is waiting. She placed her hand on Ethan's shoulder, and before he could react, a wave of energy wrapped around them both. The station vanished in a flash of blue light. A moment later, Ethan found himself standing inside the largest ship he had ever imagined. The interior of the Queen's flagship was enormous, long silver corridors, floating screens, glowing edges, guards in armor that looked carved from living crystal. Everything felt alive, as if the ship itself breathed with the Queen's presence. The guards stared at Ethan with suspicion. Some hostility. Some fear. He heard one whisper, "So this is the human she chose." Another muttered, "He looks ordinary." Ethan lowered his head, embarrassed. He wasn't strong like them. He wasn't trained. He wasn't even sure why he was here. Queen Veilrine raised her voice. "No one will question my decision. The human stays under my protection." Instant silence filled the room. No one dared to speak again. She led Ethan through a wide hall filled with star charts and ancient symbols. Every guard they passed bowed deeply. Ethan felt strange, like he had stepped into a world where he didn't belong. They entered a private chamber. The door sealed behind them. Ethan finally found his voice. "Queen, why me? Please tell me the truth." The Queen turned toward a glowing console. A hologram rose from it, a spinning image of human DNA, glowing gold. "This," she said softly, "is your blood." Ethan frowned. "Just DNA? Everyone has." "Not like this," she interrupted. The hologram shifted, showing a small glowing pattern inside the strands. "This pattern exists in only one other record in all our archives," she said. "A record from thousands of years ago. From the human vanguard." Ethan shook his head. "I don't even know what the human vanguard is." The Queen stepped closer. "They were warriors, legendary warriors. Humans who fought in the War of Shadows. They faced monsters older than galaxies. They were fearless. They were unstoppable." Ethan laughed nervously. "I'm not unstoppable. I'm not even a fighter." "That is what makes your existence confusing and dangerous," she said. She moved the hologram again, showing images of giant creatures, dark storms, and humans fighting with glowing weapons. "In the old times," she continued, "humans were not like today. They were fast, strong. Their instincts were sharp enough to sense danger before it happened. They could survive wounds fatal to others." Ethan felt cold. "So you think I have something from them?" The Queen nodded. "I saw your medical scans. Your body recovers from injuries faster than most humans. Your reflexes are not normal for an engineer. And the prophecy speaks of a human with the ancient mark." She pointed at the glowing pattern in his DNA. "It is the same mark." Ethan stepped back. "I don't want this. I just want my life back." Her voice softened. "You cannot go back. Not now. Every empire knows the mark has been found. They believe you will rise. And if they cannot control you, they will try to kill you." Ethan ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "Then why did you come for me? Why risk your ship, your life?" Queen Veilrine held his gaze. "Because I do not want you used as a weapon by anyone, not even my own empire." Ethan blinked. "Meaning, you didn't come to claim me as property?" A shadow of a smile touched her lips. "No, human. I chose you because I saw your future. You are meant to stand beside a ruler, not beneath one." Ethan opened his mouth to respond, but the ship suddenly shook with a deafening blast. Lights flickered red. An alarm echoed. "Warning. Enemy fleet attacking. Hull damage on lower decks." The Queen's calm expression changed to fierce focus. "They followed us," she said. "Faster than expected." The chamber door slid open and a group of royal guards rushed in. "Your Majesty," one said. "We must move you to the inner safe zone." Another pointed at Ethan. "And what about the human? He is the target." The Queen stepped in front of Ethan, shielding him with her body. "He moves with me. No one touches him." The guards exchanged uneasy looks but obeyed. The Queen turned to Ethan. "Stay close. Do not run. If you leave my side, You will not survive even 5 minutes on this ship. Ethan nodded, though fear twisted inside him. He felt useless, weak, unprepared. But he followed her as the group moved quickly through the halls. Explosions rocked the ship. The walls shook. Flickers of smoke drifted through the air. They passed injured crew, broken panels, and sparks falling like tiny stars. Ethan whispered, "They're really after me?" The Queen answered without looking back. "Not you, what you can become." They reached a lift that dropped them into the inner war chamber, a huge room with floating battle maps and dozens of commanders shouting reports. The Queen stepped into the center and raised her hand. The room fell silent. "Listen well," she commanded. "The human is not to be touched. He is under my protection." A commander bowed. "Yes, Majesty. But the enemy fleet demands we surrender him." Ethan felt his stomach twist. The Queen lifted her chin, her voice cold as steel. "Then they will learn what happens when someone tries to take what I have chosen." The chamber trembled again. The war had begun. The enemy fleet did not wait. The moment Queen Veilrine refused to surrender Ethan, the attack grew 10 times stronger. The flagship shook under repeated blasts. Alarms echoed through every corridor. Ethan felt each impact in his bones. In the war chamber, commanders rushed around the Queen, shouting updates, sending orders, trying to hold the ship together. Ethan stood near the back, trying to stay out of the way, but every eye kept drifting toward him. Some eyes held fear. Others held suspicion. And a few held hatred. He was the reason they were being attacked. He wished he wasn't. A commander shouted, "Your Majesty." They hit the lower decks again. "Fire suppression is failing." Another yelled, "Enemy boarding parties incoming, multiple breaches." The Queen stayed calm, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Hold them off. Protect the civilians. Keep the human out of enemy hands." Ethan felt heat rise in his chest. "I'm sorry," he whispered, though no one heard him. A sudden explosion threw everyone off their feet. Ethan crashed into a wall, gasping. Sparks rained from the ceiling. A thick cloud of smoke filled the room. The Queen stood immediately, raising a shimmering shield of energy to block falling debris. She looked at Ethan. "Stay with me." He nodded, though his hands trembled. A group of guards stormed into the war chamber. "Majesty," one shouted. "The enemy boarded Deck 17. They are heading straight for this location." The Queen's eyes hardened. As expected. Ethan felt his heart drop. "They know where I am? They can sense the ancient mark," she said. "They will not stop." She turned to the guards. "Form a defensive wall." The guards moved instantly, creating a protective circle around Ethan and the Queen. More alarms screamed through the ship. Nearby crew secured doors, sealed systems, and prepared weapons. Ethan swallowed. "Should I hide somewhere?" The Queen shook her head. "If you hide, they will break every wall to reach you. Stay where I can see you." Suddenly, a loud metallic slam echoed through the hallway outside the chamber. The enemy had arrived. The sealed door glowed bright red, metal melting under heavy plasma cutters. A guard whispered, "They're burning through the door." Another guard loaded his weapon. "This will not hold." Ethan felt a cold wave of terror rise in his chest. The Queen stepped forward, lifting her arm, energy gathering around her fingers like fire. The door exploded inward. Dozens of enemy soldiers rushed in, tall, armored, moving with deadly precision. Their weapons glowed bright purple, aimed straight at Ethan. Target acquired. Retrieve the human. The Queen unleashed a blast of energy that shook the entire room. Several enemies flew backward, crashing into walls. But more came. The fight was brutal and fast. Ethan ducked behind a pillar as plasma shots tore through the air. He saw one guard fall, another injured, and still the enemies pushed forward. A soldier charged directly at Ethan. He froze, his mind screaming, legs refusing to move. But something changed. The world slowed. Ethan's heart pounded, but his body suddenly moved on its own. Faster than he had ever moved before. The soldier swung a blade at him, but Ethan stepped aside instantly as if he knew the attack before it happened. The movement felt natural, familiar, like something inside him had awakened. Ethan grabbed a loose metal bar from the floor and swung it. The strike hit with surprising force. The soldier flew back. Ethan stared at his own hands, shocked. What was that? Another enemy soldier fired at him. Without thinking, Ethan dropped to the floor, rolled, and dashed behind cover. His reactions were too fast for a normal human. A guard shouted, "The human moved like a vanguard." Another yelled, "His instincts, he predicted the attack." Ethan didn't understand how he did any of it. His mind felt split. One part terrified, the other part calm and sharp. The queen noticed. Her eyes widened, not in fear but in recognition. "It begins," she whispered. More enemies rushed in. Ethan felt the strange instinct guide him again. He moved from spot to spot, avoiding fire with impossible precision. He jumped behind two guards and pulled them out of the path of a plasma blast. The guards stared at him, stunned. "You saved us." Ethan didn't answer. He didn't know how. The queen fought like a storm, graceful, powerful, unstoppable. Her energy blasts tore through enemy lines. She fought her way to Ethan's side. "You awakened your instincts," she said. "The ancient blood remembers." Ethan shook his head. "I don't want this. I'm not a fighter." "Maybe not by choice," the queen replied, "but by destiny." The fight grew even more intense. Enemy soldiers surrounded the war chamber from every direction. The flagship's hull groaned as more explosions rocked the ship. A commander shouted, "Your Majesty! We cannot hold them. Too many casualties." The queen's expression hardened. She raised her hand and activated an emergency command. A deep siren echoed through the ship. "Evacuate non-combat crew," she ordered. "Everyone else fall back to the inner core." She turned to Ethan. "We must move." "Where?" Ethan asked, breathless. "To the heart of the ship," she said. "It is the only place we can hold them." The guards formed a protective formation around them. Ethan followed, still confused, still breathing hard, still shaking from what he had done. As they fled through burning corridors, Ethan glanced at the queen. "Why do they want me this badly?" The queen answered with a voice that held both danger and sorrow. "Because if your power grows, you could break empires." Ethan felt a chill run through him. And for the first time he believed her. The deeper they moved into the queen's flagship, the louder the ship groaned under the enemy assault. Explosions echoed behind them like thunder. Sparks rained from ceiling panels. Smoke crawled through the halls in thin streams. Ethan followed the queen and her guards through the winding inner corridors, his heart pounding. Every step felt heavier. Every corner felt dangerous. But the strangest feeling of all was the new energy inside him. Something ancient, something sharp, something alive. He did not want it, but he could not deny it anymore. The queen finally stopped at a massive circular door carved with ancient symbols. Two guards scanned their hands across glowing panels. The door slid open with a deep hum. Inside was a huge chamber filled with floating platforms, blue lights, and enormous holograms of old battles. It felt like a forgotten museum mixed with a royal vault. Ethan paused. "What is this place?" The queen stepped forward. "This is the archive hall. Only royal blood may enter. And now, you." Ethan followed her, uneasy. The holograms shifted around him. Images of tall humans with glowing armor, holding weapons of light, fighting monsters made of shadows. The queen activated a central console. A new hologram appeared, showing a human, strong, fierce, eyes bright with the same strange energy Ethan felt inside himself. "This was the last Vanguard commander," she said softly. "The final leader of the ancient human army." Ethan stared. The commander looked nothing like him, but something about the stance, the calm focus, the fierce gaze, it felt familiar. "He looks like..." Ethan hesitated. "Like you," the queen finished. Ethan shook his head. "No, I'm not like that. I'm just an engineer." "You are more than that," she said. "You always were." She tapped a control, changing the hologram to a glowing DNA pattern. "This is the Vanguard bloodline. It disappeared from the galaxy 3,000 years ago. Every empire believed it was extinct." She turned to Ethan. "But it lived on Earth. Hidden. Buried. Sleeping." Ethan frowned. "So my ancestors were warriors? And leaders," the queen said. "Heroes. And in their final moments they made a plan, to hide their children on a young, peaceful world. Your world." Ethan took a step back. "But Earth doesn't have warriors like that. We have no record of any of this." "That was the point," she said. "The Vanguard wanted their children to live normal lives, free from war." Ethan felt his breath shake. "Then why bring this back? Why find me?" The queen's expression softened. "Because the universe is changing. Old enemies are rising again. The same darkness the Vanguard fought is returning." Ethan stared at the hologram of the commander. "You think I'm supposed to fight them?" "I think you already began," she said. "Your instincts awakened today. You saved my guards. You predicted attacks. You moved with speed no normal human possesses." Ethan clenched his fists. "I didn't choose this." "Neither did the Vanguard," she said. But they answered when the universe needed them. She stepped closer. You are not a weapon, Ethan Ward. You are a legacy. Before Ethan could respond, the ship shook violently. The chamber lights flickered. The holograms distorted. A guard shouted from the doorway, Your Majesty. The enemy forces breached the middle decks. They are heading for the archive hall. Another guard added, They know this chamber holds the ancient records. If they destroy it, no one will know the truth about the human. The Queen's eyes narrowed. Then we hold them here. She turned to Ethan, her voice firm. Stay behind the main platform. Do not rush into battle again. Your instincts are strong, but your control is weak. Ethan nodded, though fear crawled through his spine. The guards formed a tight formation near the entrance. The Queen lifted a shimmering sphere of energy around her hand. The door suddenly shook as enemies tried to force their way in. Plasma cutters burned through the metal. Ethan watched in horror. They will kill all of you, he whispered. The Queen looked at him. Not if you remember who you are. Ethan clenched his jaw. I don't even know who that is. She pointed at the hologram of the Vanguard commander. You are his blood. Another loud explosion shook the hall. The main door cracked open. Enemy soldiers poured into the chamber, dozens of them, armored, armed, and deadly. Ethan ducked behind the central pillar, trembling. The Queen and her guards met the attackers head-on. Energy blasts filled the room. The floor shook under every strike. But something caught Ethan's attention. A small group of enemy soldiers broke off from the main fight and moved toward the side hall, toward the chamber that contained the ancient DNA archives. If they destroyed those records, everything about Ethan's identity would vanish. The truth would die forever. Ethan felt the now familiar instinct rise inside him like fire. His breathing slowed. His vision sharpened. Every sound echoed clearly in his ears. He stepped out from cover. The Queen shouted, Ethan, wait. But it was too late. The ancient blood remembered. Ethan moved with impossible speed. He rushed toward the soldiers sneaking toward the DNA hall. One enemy fired at him. Ethan dodged to the left without thinking. Another swung a blade. Ethan ducked under it smoothly and pushed the attacker backward with a force that shocked even him. He reached the lead soldier and grabbed the weapon, twisting it out of the enemy's hand like he had done it 1,000 times in another life. The soldiers fell one by one. Ethan wasn't perfect. He wasn't a trained fighter. But something inside him filled the gaps, an instinct older than war itself. When the last soldier hit the ground, Ethan stood breathing hard, shocked by what he had done. The Queen approached slowly, her eyes wide with understanding. It is true, she whispered. The Vanguard rises again. Ethan looked at his shaking hands. I didn't want this. She placed her hand on his shoulder. And yet, you may be the only one who can stop what is coming. Before Ethan could reply, another alarm blared across the chamber. Warning. Enemy fleet preparing final attack on the flagship. The Queen's face hardened. The final battle begins. The enemy fleet surrounded the Queen's flagship like a dark storm. Dozens of warships prepared their final strike, their engines glowing with deadly power. The whole galaxy seemed to hold its breath as the flagship shook again, metal bending under pressure. Inside the archive hall, Ethan stood beside Queen Valrine, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. His body still felt strange, alive with an old power that did not belong to the quiet engineer he used to be. The Queen looked at him calmly. There is no more time. We must reach the inner core and launch the final defense. Ethan nodded. I'm with you. For the first time, the Queen gave him a small, honest smile. I know. The guards formed a protective circle as they moved through the burning corridors. Panels burst with sparks. Smoke filled the air. Alarms echoed above their heads like a scream that never ended. When they reached the inner core, a massive circular command room, the enemy fleet fired the first wave of heavy plasma. The whole flagship groaned like a wounded giant. A commander rushed forward. Your Majesty, the outer shields are collapsing. We cannot hold them much longer. Another added, if they break through the core, the ship will not survive. All eyes turned toward Ethan. He felt their fear, their doubt, their hope. The Queen stepped beside him, her presence strong and unshakable. We make our stand here, she said. This is where we decide our future. The enemy ships charged their biggest cannons. The holographic map in the core flickered as countdown numbers appeared. 10 seconds until impact. Ethan clenched his fists. We need a plan. I can't fight an entire fleet alone. You do not need to, the Queen said. You fight with me. She activated a golden platform in the center of the room. Holographic symbols rose into the air, forming a defensive strategy. Ethan's eyes widened. He understood the pattern instantly. His instincts guided him again, fitting into the Queen's plan like his mind had been trained for strategy. He pointed at the weak points on the map. If we redirect power to the forward shields and use your ship's gravity field to pull their missiles off course. The commander gasped. That could work. We never used that combination. He sees the battlefield like a vanguard, the Queen said proudly. The countdown hit 3, 2. Ethan shouted, now. The Queen slammed her hand down on the control sphere, flooding the ship with energy. The inner core vibrated with a deep hum as the gravity field expanded. Outside, the enemy fired dozens of massive plasma missiles. The flagship's shield exploded with light, but held. The gravity field bent space itself. The enemy missiles twisted off path, spinning away like birds caught in a storm. Cheers erupted inside the core. But the Queen raised her hand sharply. Do not celebrate yet. They will launch the second wave. She was right. The enemy ships prepared another attack even stronger than the first. Ethan's mind raced. If we keep defending, we'll break. We need to strike back. We do not have enough power to hit their fleet, the commander said. Ethan shook his head. Not their fleet. Just one ship. The command ship. The one sending the orders. The Queen's eyes softened. Your instincts choose well. She pointed at a massive warship in the hologram. That is their flagship. Ethan studied the map. If I lead a small strike team to their engine room, we can disable their energy core. The chamber fell silent. A guard stepped forward. That is suicide for a human. Ethan inhaled deeply. Maybe. But if we don't do it, everyone here dies. The Queen looked at him, really looked at him, like she was seeing the man she always knew he would become. You would risk your life for a ship of strangers? Ethan nodded. They're not strangers anymore. And you chose me. I don't want that to end here. Something changed in the Queen's eyes, respect, pride, and something warmer. You will not go alone, she said firmly. I fight beside you. Your Majesty, a guard protested. She silenced him with a look. My place is where this human stands. The strike team formed quickly, Ethan, the Queen, and 6 royal guards. They teleported through a breach in space into the enemy flagship. The moment they arrived, alarms blared. Enemy soldiers charged at them. But Ethan's instincts roared to life. He moved faster than the guards, dodging plasma, predicting attacks before they happened. The Queen fought like a starborn storm. Every strike precise, every movement graceful. Together they became unstoppable. They reached the engine room. Bright red energy pulsed from a giant core. Dozens of enemy soldiers waited. The Queen whispered, "This is our moment." Ethan nodded. "Then let's end this." The final battle exploded across the engine room. Ethan moved with strength he didn't know he had. He blocked attacks, countered blows, and protected the Queen without thinking. She unleashed golden blasts that shattered enemy armor. When they reached the core, the Queen placed her hand on the control node. "Ethan," she said, "hold them off for 5 seconds." He did. He fought like a vanguard reborn. On the 5th second, the Queen released a surge of energy that shut down the enemy core. The flagship powered down instantly. The enemy fleet panicked and retreated. The Queen and Ethan stood in the quiet engine room, breathing hard, surrounded by fallen enemies. She turned to him. "You changed the battle. You changed everything." Ethan gave a small, tired smile. "I just followed my instincts." "And your heart," the Queen added softly. They returned to her flagship, greeted by cheering soldiers. The galaxy had witnessed a miracle. But as the celebration grew, a silent transmission reached the Queen's console. She opened it. Her eyes widened. Ethan stepped beside her. "What is it?" The Queen whispered. "Another human with the ancient mark has awakened." Ethan felt a chill. The story of the Vanguard was only beginning.